Hi folks, thanks for joining us on The Sweet Spot. It's the Racing Post's weekly golf show with Bruce Millington, and this week Joe Champion standing in for Steve Palmer, who's enjoying a hard-earned week off. Joe is the golf guru for that fantastic newspaper, the Racing and Football Outlook, and he has got hopefully all the value bets on two fantastic tournaments this week before we get stuck into what's coming up. Quick look back on last week's event in Los Angeles. It's the Genesis Invitational. We almost had a Simpson-themed playoff. We had Homer, we had Burns. We just need Webb Simpson. But instead of Webb Simpson, we got Tony Finau, who made it through to a playoff. And yet again, surprise, surprise, got beat by Homer. Was it an official choke, Joe?
I don't think so. I mean, we can level that accusation at Finau over and over again. But to be honest, he went out, he shot a 64 on the Sunday, the lowest round of the day. He went and put himself in a position to win the tournament. He just came up short. He missed a sort of shortish putt, but not a gimme in the playoff to extend the playoff. But to be honest, Max Homer was brilliant. He obviously played that miraculous shot where his ball looked like it was plugged against a tree, got that to within a few feet and made that to keep himself in the playoff. And I think, Homer just went out and beat him, really. He was brilliant all day. Finau didn't really lose it, as far as I can.
Fair enough. How good can this guy Homer be? Because I mean, he's unless you're banging into your golf, you won't be overly familiar with Max Homer, will you? But he beat a star-studded field on a proper golf course, didn't he?
He did indeed. Yeah. He's a player I've really liked for a long time. I put him up for the first couple of events of the West Coast swing, unfortunately, and not last week when he won, but. I think he's a California guy as well, so he loves that part of the world. That's where I expect his best golf will come from. But yeah, he's a great player. He's a brilliant ball striker. He's gone from what they call sneaky long to being truly long now off the tee. The short game needs a bit of work, but that's an area where he knows he can get better. And I think if the putts start to drop a bit more, he can continue to contend in these big tournaments.
Dustin Johnson looked like he was sitting pretty, didn't he? Went into the final day, I think, favourite, but it didn't go right for Dustin. What was the problem? Because he had a cold putter, even though he did win in Saudi Arabia the time before. But I mean, he's been known for the odd really bad Sunday, hasn't he? And this was a throwback to those. I suppose the thing is, Joe, you can't win every week. These tournaments are hard to win. He's bound to have the odd disappointing round. But could you put your finger on what went wrong for him? Is there anything he or his backers should be worried about, do you think?
I don't think so. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Bruce, really. It's just some people have off days. He wasn't great on Saturday when it got tough as well. And Riviera's a difficult golf course. You look at some of the players that were miles over par. Rory McIlroy missed the cut by a long way. DeChambeau, Justin Thomas, they all struggled around Riviera. So DJ loves that course. He just had an off couple of days. And you can tell from the prices for this week's tournament that he should probably just put that right again.
Right then, two fine tournaments this week. Well, one really, really good one reasonably good one, but we'll start with the really good one. It's a WGC event. It's the Workday Championship at the Concession. I said it was a funny name for a golf course and people put me right. Apparently it's the location where, is it Nicklaus, Joe, made a very famous sporting concession. So it's down in Florida. All the big guns are there. Let's have a quick spin through the betting. These are guide prices. There are potentially better prices and maybe better place terms out there as well. So shop around. 13-2, Dustin Johnson. 10, John Rum. 16, Xander Schauffele and Rory McIlroy. Cantelay's in there at 18. Justin Thomas, Bryson. And Finau, 20-1. You'd have to back him each way, wouldn't you? Tyrrell Hatton, Victor Hovland. It's a really, really good tournament, isn't it, Joe? Tell us a little bit about the course.
Yeah, fantastic tournament. There's 48 of the world's top 50 are teeing up this week. It's only Tiger Woods and Paul Casey who are missing. Jack Nicklaus designed this course, as you said, named after the concession at the 1969 Ryder Cup, where he conceded a two-foot putt to Tony Jacklin to tie the contest. This is known, it's not been played in tournament golf at the top level before. Did host the 2015 NCAA Championships, which were won by Bryson DeChambeau. He shot 8 under par, but if you look through the field, there were not many under par. This is a tough golf course. It's a 7,427-yard par 72. And if you look back at that scorecard, there were people like John Rahm was 2 over par. Xander Schauffele was 9 over par for his 4 rounds. Obviously, they're better players now, but that just shows how tricky this could get. There's 4 par 5s, which you'd normally think they're gettable holes. The 4 par 5s are 4 of the 5 toughest holes on this course. So you won't be rocking up thinking you're going to make threes on these par 5s. We're expecting it to be difficult this week. It's wide open fairways. That won't be a problem for some of the long hitters. But the greens are small and they're difficult contoured greens, which will test the short game of these players and the approach play as well.
Interesting. Okay, how many selections have you gone with this week, Joe?
I've got 3 for this one. We've got a smaller field this week. So.
Okay. Oh, how many runners are there this week?
70 something.
Okay, fine. Yep. And there is a cut as well, I presume, is there or not?
No cut event, there's.
No cut. Okay, interesting. Right then, jolly good. Well, it's all about the quality. So you've gone for 3, and who are you pinning your hopes in as your headline selection?
So my best bet this week is Jon Rahm. I've already mentioned he's played this course before. He didn't go that well, but he wasn't disastrous. He was 22nd of 80-odd runners in that field. And that course experience will help him a little bit, I suppose. It's not a massive thing to sort of hang your hat on, but Jon Rahm's a class act, and that will help him. A lot's been made of Rahm's switch to Callaway clubs, and that put me off backing him early in the season. I know Steve felt the same as well. But his form figures this year: 7th and 7th, 13th and 5th Riviera last week. So he's not playing badly at all. He closed with a 66 in the Genesis. That round was only bettered by Tony Finau, and he's driving the ball brilliantly, as he always does. But actually, since he switched to the Callaways, his approach play has improved on what it was before, and that's sort of going to be a key thing to have around here. These small greens, you're going to need to be hitting them, and that's not always been Rahm's kind of modus operandi, but that definitely has improved in recent weeks for the switch to these clubs, and I think he's really starting to put it all together, and he should be confident of going well. His form is fantastic, and he's just so consistent. Obviously, this is a Jack Nicklaus designed course. Jon Rahm last year went and won the Memorial Tournament by easily, really. That was difficult that week. I think earlier in his career, people argued that perhaps Rahm wasn't the type to handle tough golf courses. He's put that right last year at the Memorial, and then again when he won Olympia Fields, when he took down DJ in the BMW. So I think if the putter warms up, he's sort of been so-so with the putter, then I think he'll win this week.
Okay, Rahm is the main man. Who else are you going to go for?
So my next one is Victor Hovland, who I'm sure will be popular this week. He's another guy with a stellar long game, which should be perfectly suited for this course. Another guy that went well at Riviera as well. He closed with a 67 to finish 5th alongside Jon Rahm. And it's 12 months since he won the Puerto Rico Open last year, ranked 100th in the world, Victor Hovland at that time. He's now up to 14th, which just shows how far he's come in a year. And part of that is down to his recent form. Since he won the Mayakoba Classic last year, he's finished 3rd, 32nd, 2nd, 6th, and then 5th last week. So he's quickly moving towards the world's top 10. He's a serious player. And unlike most weeks, he's not going to be hampered by a lack of course experience. He turned up at Riviera. He'd only played it a few years back as an amateur, whereas there are guys that have been around there loads of times. So I think he's brilliant when it comes to approach play as well. So that's why I fancy Victor this week.
2 Europeans, of course. Although they ply their trade on the tour, they'll be eligible for Harrington's European Ryder Cup team, won't they? So it could make it interesting. I know everyone thinks America's going to absolutely waltz the Ryder Cup. It's not necessarily the case, is it? Okay, so we've got Rahm, we've got Hovland. Who else? So my final selection, a slightly bigger price, is Cameron Smith, who made a disappointing start to the season, but he's really started to find his long game. He was moderate in Hawaii and missed the cut at the Farmers, where he just didn't have any of his best stuff. But back to his best last week. Another guy that played well at Riviera and finishing well as well. His improvement with his approach play from the Farmers to Riviera after a couple of weeks off was quite eye-catching, really. And he's shown that he can contend in these really elite fields before. He was runner-up at the Masters, and he was 5th at the Masters in 2018. And he's a guy who I don't think is frightened to get amongst it when the big guns are there. Okay, excellent. So I think Smith's about 50 to 1. So we've got Jon Rahm, we've got Victor Hovland, and we've got Cameron Smith. That leaves you a free shot at top American, because you haven't tipped a single American, have you? Who do you like out of the big guns that you haven't mentioned? Obviously, like I say, you've tipped a couple of those at the head of affairs. DJ sort of track this?
Yeah, definitely a DJ sort of track. As I say, he'll be able to put himself in good areas and get the approaches close. Um, I'm not a fan of taking that sort of price given how he played last weekend. Even though I think he'll probably just shrug it off as he usually tends to do. Um, I'd say Xander Schauffele or Tony Finau, that they might not win. They've obviously both struggled to win, but they're rock solid and they're almost certain to be up there come the end of the week.
Thank you very much, Joe. Right then, let's look at Puerto Rico Open, which is one of those kind of the PGA Tour puts on a kind of secondary event when it's got the big stuff on, and there's a particular type of player seems to always do well in these kind of things. When I first saw the prices for this, I thought the European Tour was back on. It's a strange old market, isn't it? Let's have a quick look. Again, better prices potentially available out there, but this is a good guide. 14-1 Thomas Pieters and Matt Wallace. 16-1 Ian Poulter and Emiliano Grillo, 18 Brandon Grace, 20-1 Anne, and 22-1 Bar. So there's a load of Europeans up there. It's a very, very strange lineup. I guess they fancied a bit of sun. There's not a lot going on in Europe, is there? So they may as well get over there and make hay while the big guns are duking it out in Florida. So it's a really interesting field. What kind of course and how many selections do you have, Joe?
Yeah, on the field, it's we've got the European guys. They're obviously going to be playing in Florida over the next few weeks, so they'll be sort of warming up for that. But none of them are top 50. Obviously, Poulter, Wallace, they're all sort of on the close enough. So otherwise, they'd have been playing in the other tournament. But Grand Reserve Country Club, formerly Cocoa Beach and formerly Trump International as well. It's a 7,569 yard par 72, where all types of golfers have run around here. It was the scene of Tony Finau's last win, of course, which led it to be called a cursed golf course. Don't think anyone has won outside of Puerto Rico until Victor Hovland went and won Mayakoba a couple of months ago. It's not the best field. There's some interesting names at the top, but it's going to take. What we should say this week is that there could be a bit of wind. It's by the coast, and we might look at players that could handle that.
Okay, and how many selections do you have?
I've got 4.
Go on then, give us your headline tip.
So my top tip's Brandon Grace, who's just outside those sort of top European players in the market. He's a player who I've always liked. Brandon Grace. His form has absolutely gone off a cliff over the last couple of years, but he's shown signs of life recently. 34th at Pebble Beach and 20th. Sadly, Brandon Grace lost his dad a month ago. But I think that started to spur him on, really. He's sort of got to focus on his golf and he wants to make his dad proud. And 34th at Pebble and 20th at the Genesis, particularly at the Genesis in a much stronger field than this, he's shown that he's going the right way. They're 2 of his best performances in a long time. And if it does get windy around this course, then Brandon Grace is the type of player who's going to relish that sort of challenge. He's a guy that shot 62 at the Open. The lowest round in major championship history. He's a guy who has played. He's got 5 major top 6 finishes to his name. He's an absolute class act when he's in form, and it's clear that he's going the right way now. He's not afraid to win. He's got that low ball flight, which will be perfect if the wind does kick up. And 13 professional wins to his name, Brandon Grace. There aren't going to be too many guys in the field, and he's only 32. Remember, it's not like he's completely gone at the game. There are not going to be many guys that boast that sort of CV that he's got. He's a PGA Tour winner. He won the Heritage a few years back around another windswept Harbour Town track. I think it's not a massive price, admittedly, about a guy who hasn't won for a while. But Brandon Grace, if his game is coming back, he could easily run away with this.
Interesting. There's nothing like a multiple winner, is there? The guys you can trust to get it done in the heat of battle. Okay, so Brandon Grace is Joe's main selection. Who are the other 3?
So I've got 3 more. The first one is Justin Suh, who's playing on a sponsorship exemption this week. He's a big, talented young player. He came out of the college class along with Morikawa, Hovland, and Wolf, that fabled college year, which is, it's not easy to live up to that sort of company. But he's very much of that ilk. But he's been held back by injuries over the last couple of years. He's had wrist problems and. But he's just starting to show his top form now. He was 14th for the Corrales Punta Cana in a similar opposite event, and then 8th at the Shriners. That was a better field than this. Sort of Patrick Cantlay was there, DeChambeau, and 37th last time out at the Farmers Insurance. That's also a much stronger event. Saar seems to have worked out that he was a bit gung-ho in his when he came onto the tour, and then the injuries held him back. But he seems to be going the right way now, and he's a player I really like. Missed the cut in this, unfortunately, last year, but he's definitely playing much better golf now.
Okay, and who are the other two?
So the next one's Taylor Pendrith, who
literally never heard of him.
He's
Tell me all about Taylor Pendrith.
I know Steve's a big fan of Taylor Pendrith. He put him up in his ones to watch at the start of the season. He's a Canadian Corn Ferry player who hits the ball a mile. I think only Bryson hits it further than he does. This guy's very long off the tee, and second in the Corn Ferry Tour money list at the moment to Will Zalatoris, of all people, who's obviously a top 10 every week. He teed it up on the Corn Ferry Tour almost. 23rd at the US Open, Taylor Pendrith last year at Winged Foot, which is pretty good form. He's going to relish this course because bombers can win here. I mean, Tony Finau is a case in point, and Victor Hovland as well. These guys that can strike the ball. 23rd on the Corn Ferry Tour last week. Not the best of finishes. He struggled a bit on Saturday. Put himself in a position to win, but that was his first start of the year, and I think you can excuse that and possibly expect him to come on for that. So yeah,
got to put the glasses on to try and find where he is in the list. Oh, well, it's 40-1. Oh, right. That's my ignorance. Everyone knows all about Taylor. And finally, Joe.
And the last one, a former Puerto Rico champion, so he hasn't won anything since, obviously, because only Victor Hovland ever has. Scott Brown, who's around the sort of 70-1 mark. Scott Brown's just an absolute horse for a course here. He's got 5 top 10s from 8 appearances in Puerto Rico, including that win in 2013. And I think we're getting a big price about Scott Brown because he hasn't been playing that well recently. Admittedly, he had 3 missed cuts in a row, but he was, he played okay in Phoenix. He shot 72-70, not disastrous, 71-73 at the Farmers, and then he's followed that up by finishing 30th at Pebble Beach in his last start, which is an improvement. And this is obviously not as strong a field, so I think that Scott Brown's a reasonable price given he clearly absolutely loves this course.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Joe. Let's just recap your tips in case anyone didn't get them. Just the names. We'll start with the Workday Championship.
So it's Jon Rahm, Victor Hovland and Cameron Smith.
And in the Puerto Rico Open?
Brandon Grace, Justin Saar, Taylor Pendrith and Scott Brown.
Excellent. And don't forget you can catch Joe's but full reasoning why he fancies those in the Racing and Football Outlook this week. It really is a cracking little paper. And if you subscribe to Racing Post Ultimate members, which you should because it costs just a few pence over £1 a day, not only do you get the Racing Post digital version every day, but you also get the Weekender and the RFO. It really is the bargain of all time. Go on to racingpost.com and see what you can do there. Who's doing the Racing Post this week in Steve's absence? Is it you or Wilco?
It's Wilco, yeah.
Ian Wilkerson, that fine fella, Ian Wilkerson. He'll be giving his tips in the Racing Post tomorrow, so check that out. And then next week, Steve will be back. It's Palmer on Palmer, Steve Palmer's tips for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Joe, thank you very much indeed for keeping Steve's seat warm. Good luck with selections this week. Good luck to you guys for all your golf bets this week. Don't forget, please bet safely and please join us next week for another sweet spot.